Good morning, everyone. We're continuing here in KITZUR HILCHOS SHABBOS. We're in the laws of techina, not that which you like to dip your challah or your pita into, but techina, which means over here the grinding or the mashing of things. Ein says the KITZUR, ein techina achar techina. There's no grinding after grinding. Something that was already ground once, even if the things that were ground now become unified together as one, there's not an issur, there's no prohibition of teichin, of grinding it once again, as we're going to see. Shinui, number 2, he says over here, you're allowed to do things with a shinui, with a roundabout way. Even though that by the other malachis of Shabbos, we don't really make a distinction whether you do it in the way that it normally is done, or you do it with a shina, with a roundabout way, an unusual way to do it. That even through a shinui, the issur of the Torah is like taken out. Mikol makom adai nishalei issur b'nerabanan. Even though that it's true, when you do something with a shinui, there's no longer a Torah prohibition that you are transgressing. Nevertheless, you're still doing an issur b'nerabanan. You're still transgressing a rabbinical prohibition. Aval b'toichin, when it comes to toichin, this grinding that we are speaking about over here, ha'itir l'tzorech achila, for the sake of being able to eat. Chazal were matter, they allowed techina b'derech shinu. You're allowed to do techina. You could grind or crush things in a way that's done with a shinui, not in the normal manner that you would during the week, as we will see. We'll see later on, he says all the details. Number 3 over here, derech chol. What is derech chol? The way of the mundane. Even on things that it's not shy, it doesn't really have on them techina grinding. Nevertheless, you still cannot use a kli, a vessel that is normally used, a tool that is normally used for techina, for grinding. Why? Because if you use a utensil that's normally used for grinding, that's called uvda d'chol. That's a weekday activity which we do not engage in on Shabbos Kodesh. Therefore, in everything, wherever you're allowed to do techina, something that already was ground once, or things that don't grow from the ground, or if you're allowed to do it close to the meal. You cannot use the utensil, the tool that you normally would use during the week. And he's going to explain those things that do not grow from the ground. Therefore, you're allowed to crumble cheese. Now, cheese, he's understanding over here, apparently is, let's say, therefore you're allowed to crumble the cheese. That's like techina, but it's not growing from the ground. Or you're allowed to chop meat, beitzim or eggs, very fine. You're allowed to cut all these things very, very small because they're not growing from the ground. Nevertheless, we already learned you can still not use a kli, a utensil from your kitchen that you normally would use during the week to cut these things into small pieces. Therefore, you're not allowed to grate cheese with a grater on Shabbos. You know, one of those metal graters where you grate the cheese and you make it into small things. You can't use that on Shabbos. Also, you cannot cut meat or eggs b'sakin agadol with a big knife that normally you would use during the week. Kaifitz, a chopper. You know those butcher chopper knives, big ones, bang bang. You can bang it on the cutting board and make the things into small pieces. You cannot use that type of knife. You can use a knife, obviously. How else are you going to cut it? But it can't be the special knife. Anything that's similar to this, you cannot use a kli. a vessel, a utensil that normally you use during the week to make these things small on Shabbos. Have a wonderful day.